I kind of struggled with it honestly a lot of my life, a lot of my, athletic life at least. But I was a little kid when it started, so I didn't really know, what caused it. It started because, like I said, I wanted to be as perfect as I could be so I could get as much playing time and play as well as I could, so I could, fulfill my dream.
Hello, my name is Aaron Wexler, and welcome to another episode of Within the Game. Let's go. Within the Game is all about sharing inspiration. That's what we're doing here. And I just appreciate you guys, the fans, the viewers of the show. Thanks for being on this podcast journey with me. And if you want to further support the show, a great way to do that is to grab a copy of my book, The Inspired Athlete. It's kind of this fusion of personal growth, spirituality, and my athletic journey. And I really do think it can help everyone out there. Also, if you could do the likes, the subscribes, all those things really do help out. And please follow and support my guests. And today's guest is the one and only Myles Smith. Myles, thanks so much for being here, man.
Of course, thank you for having me. I'm super stoked, super stoked.
Let's go, Myles. Myles is an electrifying outfielder drafted in the seventh round by the Cincinnati Reds. Let's go. And in this year's MLB draft, Myles crushed it at UC Irvine, earning Big West Field Player of the Year honors, a spot on the All Big West first team, and shining on the Corvallis All Regional team in 2024. As the son of pro baseball player Ira Smith, Myles carries on the legacy of excellence while carving out his own unique path to the big leagues. Your Instagram is at _ Myles Smith. And shout out to Ira. Shout out to Crossroads School, my
Yes,
former
sir.
boss, my former school. This is a true full circle moment, Myles. And one of the first things I like to start with all these episodes is this concept of inspired living. What does that mean to you, Myles?
Well, I mean, we all we all know what inspired means, but I mean, I feel like different people have, different opinions on it or different, meanings of the word. But for me, it's firstly doing things in my daily life that make me happy. And doing things in my daily life that are going to make me the best version of myself that I can be. So that's how I'd like to look at it. And whatever that may be, for me right now, it's baseball. And I got drafted, but job's not finished, and I've got a goal. I want to get to the big leagues. So for me, inspired living is doing something every day, living my life while trying to be the best person I can be, best player I can be, so I can get to the level that I want to get to.
Yes, man. Yes. It's so cool for me to see you in this capacity after, watching you grow up at Crossroads and, just kind of being kind of an observer of your journey, but also kind of just being a part of it, being a fan. So I'm just so happy for where you're at right now. And,
Thank you.
yeah, man. And this concept of the inspired athlete, what I I believe that you embody that. This concept of this. Well, actually, you know what? Let me turn that over to you. What does that mean to you, the inspired athlete?
I mean, it just the inspired athlete is just an athlete or a person who is determined to make it happen. That's how I look at it. And I feel like you will do, or whoever is we're talking about in this case. For me, example, I know I'm an inspired athlete, and I'm willing to do whatever needs to be done to get to where I want to be in my athletic journey. So whatever that might look like, if that means I got to work out, twice a day, or do something else, do something more than what I'm already doing on a daily basis, then that's what I got to do. Um, so yeah, I feel like for me, it's just doing whatever it takes, um, and doing it, and also having a good energy about it too, and a good mindset and attitude towards it, because I can do extra work, but if I don't have a good attitude about it or a good mindset, or I'm not really like wanting to do it, then is it like really useful? Like, am I really like doing what I need to do? So I think that's the gist of it, doing whatever it takes and having a really good mindset about it at all times, no matter how much you don't want to do it or or what you've got going on in the day that might conflict with what you need to do, but it's got to get done.
Love it. Um, I want to ask right away about the other side of that because I think, being in that headspace, it's where we want to be as athletes, but it's not always the case.
Hmm.
And it's part of the reason why I'm introducing that concept because that's kind of the athlete I always wanted to be, but it was challenging, right? What's
Hmm.
the flip side of that? The flip side of the inspired athlete?
Well, I mean, the flip side is because I mean, there's the physical, but then there's also the mental part of it, and like I said, like the mindset and the attitude. And I honestly think that the inspired part of inspired athletes starts with that flip side, the mental side of it. Um, because like I said, you have to get up and you have to do everything that needs to be done, but you have to want to do it first. And that starts with that flip side, that mental side, and that spiritual side. Um, so I think that's super, super important to have at all times because again, like if your mindset is wrong, and I've experienced this firsthand, like the mindset is wrong and everything is just off. So that mental side is so so important for everything, not even just in sports too. I know we're talking about the inspired athlete, but in all aspects of life, like you can't there's not going to be any point in time in your life where a negative mindset is going to benefit you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of another reason why we're having this conversation is to hopefully help someone out there who might be struggling trying to find their own
Mhm.
inspired athlete. You know, like
Yeah.
like I said, for me that was not easy to do. So yeah, could you explore a little bit more about that, like the contrast of the inspired athlete, the uninspired athlete,
Hmm.
like the have you ever experienced that where you're just dragging or you just
Oh
don't want to
yeah.
do it anymore? Yeah, talk about
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. So pretty recently actually. So um my junior year of college was when everything started to, come together for me. I played really well, was player of the year, yada yada yada. But the 2 years before that were just no good at all. No good. Didn't play as a freshman. And then my sophomore year, just I got playing time. I earned my spot, but it didn't pan out. And there were times during both of those years where I'd think to myself, like, ugh, I don't really know if I want to do this anymore. Um, the big, getting drafted started to become unrealistic to me, even though I still had time. I was still young. And I still had another one or if needed 2 years to show what I could do. So that was me, sort of being uninspired. And I feel like we've all had times like that and moments of struggle and sort of self-doubt. Um, but you just at one point or another, if you really if you really care about what you do and you really want to do this or that or whatever you want to do, then you will snap out of that and and you will find some way to turn that doubt into, being inspired.
Yeah.
And whatever that may be, you'll find it. For me, there were so many things that helped me, but what helped me might not help the next person. So it's just about sticking with it and finding what inspires you and what gets your mindset right.
Yeah. No, for sure. We all got to kind of figure that out for ourselves,
Mhm.
but I think it's really helpful when we can hear from other people, like
I
yourself. And
agree. I
yeah,
totally
it
agree.
it really does help with that relatability. So we're gonna get into some spirituality stuff here in a minute, but before we do that, I want
Hmm.
to kind of I want to bring us back bring us back, Miles, to that moment where you got drafted by the Reds because you know for me, like I was a baseball player. I don't know if you knew that. I was
Hmm.
a baseball
I,
player
I
first.
didn't.
Yeah, man. My first sport. I wanted to be a Dodger.
Hmm.
And I think for most boys growing up, that's kind of a big dream. We all want to get to the show,
Of
right?
course.
And so when you got drafted, I was like I was celebrating so hard for you. So yeah, bring us back to that moment. How did
Yeah.
that come about?
Um, well, that day was like that whole day was one of probably the most stressful day I've ever had in
Yeah.
my entire life. Um, not no, I don't think anybody really knows this, but the morning of, I had to get up and go to the DMV. I couldn't sleep because I was super excited about what was going on the next day. I had to get up and go to the DMV the next morning, super tired because my driver's license was expired. So just a lot of things were happening during the day. Um, and sitting there, I had an idea of where I was gonna get drafted or what round I was gonna get drafted in. Um, and the moments like leading up to that were just so stressful. Um, but it was also really cool to see because when you play baseball for as long as I have, you start to create relationships and you get to know people. And it was really cool for me because a lot of people that were going before me in the draft were my friends, people that I know. So that was a really cool thing to see as well. And it took a little bit of pressure, or it became a little bit lighter just because, oh my gosh, like I know him, that's my guy. Um, but but yeah, all in all, it was really, really stressful. But then hearing my name called was probably one of the most special moments in my life. Um, and my agent called me before because that's how it works. Like your agent will call you and be like, "Hey, this team wants to take you um in this round, blah 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 blah." So my agent called me and he was like, "They want to take you this round, but we're still working on something. So just hold on for a second." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I don't know if I can hold on much longer." And then he called me again like 10 minutes later and was like, "You're gonna be a Cincinnati Red." And I was, ear to ear
Wow.
smiling. I didn't want to spoil it for everyone else that was at the house celebrating. So I walked outside, tried to keep a straight face, and then the pick was about to happen. Everyone, shut up, shut up. And they picked me and everyone went nuts and it was a really good time. One of the best moments of my life, easily.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Could you explain for the audience too, like how
Mhm.
the draft works and like
Yeah,
what's
yeah, yeah.
next and just like
Mhm.
briefly share that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So in the draft, there are 20 rounds. The first two rounds are the first day, or it's broken up into 3 days. So the first two rounds are day one, and then day two is rounds 3 through 10. And they have to, move pretty quickly. So they're like firing off draft like picks. So, you're pretty locked in the whole time. And then the third day is rounds 10 through 20. So you get drafted, and then in almost all cases, you get sent out to their complex like 3 days later, and your professional career starts.
Wow.
So I got drafted on, I think it was a Tuesday, and I was in Arizona on Friday. So like it's a really quick turnaround, and your professional career starts, you know, pretty much as soon as you get drafted. And then you go to the complex, and then they send you to go play at one of their minor league affiliates. Um, and yeah, then your journey begins, and you work your way up to the big leagues.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Let's go. It's cool to have this moment with you right now because you're in it, right? You're actively
Hmm.
in it. And that's
Yeah.
why it's so cool to kind of pick your mind about, everything while you're in it, rather than like, yeah, I had that career later. So
Hmm.
again, man, this is cool. So let's talk about mindset. You mentioned mindset.
Hmm.
I'm big on mindset. I think that's it kind of starts there. What was your mindset as a high school and college athlete, knowing that you had this aspiration to make the big leagues?
Hmm. So my mindset in high school, it's changed a lot. My mindset in high school was completely different than my mindset in college. Or okay, we So high school, um, Crossroads High School, their baseball team at least, it's not the greatest. Um, so the competition was never great, but my early years in high school, I was still young, so I was still kind of, experiencing high school ball. But all 4 of my high school years was, just you're in high school, have fun. Like it's high school sports. Most of your teammates are doing this because they think it's fun.
Yeah.
So that was my whole mindset was just have fun, especially after I committed to UC Irvine. I committed my junior year. So before the baseball season junior year, I was committed. And after that, it was like, okay, you've secured that next step in your baseball journey. Now you go and just do your thing, have fun. And whatever happens. Then once your high school career is over, you're gonna go to college and you're gonna go dominate. So that was the mindset in high school. And then I got to college and it started to change. I still, tried to have fun, but it became a lot more serious and I put way more pressure on myself than I needed to. And
Mm,
it made me think, that everything I needed to do needed to be perfect. Because when I first got to UC Irvine, my like we have our fall practices and stuff like that, and I dominated. I was unbelievably good. And the way it was looking, I was gonna start as a freshman and, be a really good freshman for the team and play, all 3 years, get drafted, make a bunch of money, go to the big leagues. Um, but I became incredibly hard on myself and I felt that I needed everything to be perfect, everything that I did, and it caused a lot of anxiety for me, which
yeah.
I still, sometimes struggle with today. But that sort of changed my mindset, and it took me a really long time to sort of shake that sort of perfection. And when something wasn't perfect, then that self-doubt would come in, and that negative mindset would come in. Um, and a couple years go by, my sophomore year goes by. I get a lot of playing time, but I don't even want to talk about it. It was so bad. Just, not who I am. And
Yeah.
that was when, the serious self-doubt started to come in. Like, I don't know if like I want to do this. I think I'm just going to play my 4 years in college and then go get a job, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but then I went to Alaska to play summer ball and I did not like Alaska at all. Wasn't a fan, but it was so needed for me to be there and to go there because nothing had changed physically. I played bad in Alaska, didn't play good. It was just, but my mindset changed completely because I was able to just have fun. And I came back after that summer league and I took that into my junior season and was just like, you know what? It's a baseball game. It's a
Mm,
game. Games are fun. So go out there. You know you're good. Just go have fun. And I kept that mindset of just, being outside, playing the sport I love. Um, and that wasn't, the the main thing that, changed, the trajectory of my baseball career, but it was definitely one of the most important things that I could do was change that mindset and change like my negative spirit into a positive spirit because if you're on the field and you can't have fun, then what's the point of being on the
right.
field?
Right.
So I took that and ran with it every single day. I made sure that, if things didn't go my way, it's a game.
Yeah.
And, games are fun, but games can be hard. So
Yeah.
move on to the next day and don't let anything that happened the day before affect the next day.
Awesome.
That was how my, mindset sort of changed.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for being a fan of the show. I really appreciate your support. And if you'd like to further support the podcast, please grab a copy of my book, The Inspired Athlete. The Inspired Athlete is all about my personal growth journey, my athletic journey, my spiritual journey, all combined into one. And really, the idea is that the energy of the inspired athlete is within us all, and it's up to us to evoke that. And whether you consider yourself an athlete or a competitor or not, it's my belief that the energy of the inspired athlete is within us. Even if you just decide to take a deep breath and just move your body, that's the inspired athlete. So it would mean a lot if you could help support the book project as well as the podcast by grabbing a copy. Links to the Amazon paperback version as well as the Audible audiobook version are listed below in the description. Thank you very much for your support. Stay inspired, y'all. Wow. No, that's awesome. So I want to like segue into spirituality a little bit, but before we do that, can you talk a little bit more about that anxiety? And
Mm-hmm.
that I think I heard you in the Pivot podcast. I'll link that. That was a good one. I'll link
Mm-hmm.
that to this one. But you talked about comparison syndrome too.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about those things because those are so relatable to most
Yeah.
athletes. I'd say
Mm-hmm.
even like youth athletes coming up, having a dream to go pro, anxiety, comparison syndrome, even FOPO. I don't know if you've heard of that, fear of people's opinions.
Okay.
That's a big one too.
Yeah.
Can you like wrap all those three things together and share your experience about those things?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the anxiety, I kind of struggled with it honestly a lot of my life, a lot of my, athletic life at least. Um, and it first started when I was young, but I was a little kid when it started, so I didn't really know, what caused it. But fast forward to college, I feel like it started because, like I said, I wanted to be as perfect as I could be so I could get as much playing time and play as well as I could, so I could, fulfill my dream. Um, but how do I put this? There was I realized that there was no reason to be anxious, to compare myself to anybody, to really feel anything negative at all, because I got to realize that everyone is here. Everyone got here and everyone is on the same level as you, because at the end of the day, it's college baseball, you know. And there's the SEC schools and all the Power Fives. You see everybody's on a Power Five school. We're really dang good, but it's not a Power Five. So people have this to say and that to say about it. But at the end of the day, we all made it. Like, this is, no matter what level it is, everyone that's here is fulfilling their dream, and everyone here is, we're right here because it's all D1 college baseball. Um, so I think, that sort of got me through the comparison, or the comparison syndrome, and not comparing myself to others, especially, and I said it in the other podcast, I experienced it a lot in pro ball when I first started. And even more so in college, you realize that, this person is here, but so am I.
Right. Right.
Um, so I feel like it was really easy to shake that comparison syndrome, just because you get to realize that we're both on the same level. And I feel like opinions are opinions, and I feel like when you get to a higher level, you sort of start to, it goes in this ear and it comes out the other ear, because again, we're right here. And a lot of the time, the people who give negative opinions, you know, I don't even know if, like, I want to say that, but like, the people who give negative opinions on you, they don't matter.
Right.
And the only person who you should be trying to impress is yourself.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
like I said, you sort of get used to it as you get to a higher level, because you play against teams. They've got a bunch of fans are top of you, yelling at you, giving saying not so nice things. There's social media now,
Yeah.
where people can voice their opinions on what they think about you. But at the end of the day, none of that matters, because, again, backtrack to like the first thing I said today. all you're trying to do is become the best person that you can be, the best version of yourself. And you can't do that. You can't take that step if you're letting people's opinions, mess with you. So the first step in doing so, into becoming the best person, the best athlete that you can become, is to not listen to other people's negative opinions and not compare yourself to anybody. The only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself yesterday.
Yeah, man. Thank you to new sponsor of the show, Stretchlyfe, located in Manhattan Beach, California. Stretchlyfe offers assisted stretching for anyone who wants to enhance their flexibility practice. And if you're like me, muscle tightness is something I deal with on a daily basis, whether I'm in the gym training or out on the beach playing beach volleyball or even sitting here doing this podcast. It's a challenge to make time for the daily stretch routine. And so I've been working with Amir over the last couple months over at Stretchlyfe, and I can tell a big difference in the way I feel. I have more range of motion, I have more energy, more muscle control, and just overall less pain. Stretchlyfe is offering Within the Game listeners 50% off your first session. Just mention Within the Game when you book online or when you call in for the discount. And also, if you do not have access to the Stretchlyfe studio, but you still want to learn more about how to enhance your flexibility practice, Amir is offering a free 20-minute phone call where he can share specific stretches and other specific tools that can help you. So visit stretchlyfe.com, that's Stretchlyfe spelled with a Y, to book your first session, and hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Yeah, heck yeah, man, that's very astute of you to know that right now at your age and this part of your journey. You mentioned social media. I had a section on this, but let's talk about it right now. I mean,
Yeah,
it's so prevalent. It's probably a part of everybody's day for the most part.
definitely a part
Um,
of mine. Yep.
yeah, me too, in some capacity, right? Talk about your relationship with social media and even like, okay, so you just mentioned like negative, opinions. What about when you see negative comments? If you do that, like how do you manage that?
Um, Honestly, I haven't really my social media is like not it's not a lot of baseball, and it's not a lot about like me. I watch TikToks all day. I just scroll through TikTok, scroll through my Instagram reels and see what people are posting. Um, but you know, I don't let it affect me. I mean, I've definitely seen, negative comments on me or my team. And I've never really let it affect me because it's behind a screen.
Right.
Um, and it's someone at home who's got nothing better to do, typing away because I messed up their parlay or their bet or something, like.
Yeah.
So I've never really let social media, comments or anything like that affect me. But I also try to stay out of that world.
Right.
Um, and I just my social media is pretty friendly, and you know, so I never let the, negative comments affect me. But again, I've never, seen like a crazy amount of negative comments or hate on social media. But I think if I were to receive that in the future, I think I would handle it really well because again, it's just opinions. Um, and they don't matter.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I think it's not easy to create a
Mhm.
healthy relationship with social media and branding and negative comments and all that stuff. But it sounds like you have a great relationship with it. And as you
Mhm.
continue your success and find more success on a bigger level, I encourage you to keep that.
Of
And
course. Yeah,
and if
definitely.
you yeah, and if you do, or if anyone out there has negative comments on their social media or anything like that, I've had it before.
Right.
You can use it as motivation.
Of
Maybe that's a
course.
good segue to ask you about motivation.
Mhm.
I put it out on our social media on Within the Game to see if anyone had a question for you. And my good friend Terrence Bowman, shout out Terrence, another baseball player, he asked about that. He asked about your own motivation. Do you get that within yourself? Do you seek that outside of yourself? How do you, create motivation for yourself?
Yeah. I think I think I get motivation, I mean, I've got a clear goal. of course, and that's to get to the major leagues.
Yep.
So that in itself is motivation for
Yeah.
me. But I feel like it's not always it's not always easy to find it.
Right.
And like I said before, you have to find different, things that motivate you. Um, for me, especially now in the off season, it's I'm home. I'm not doing any type of school right now. I still have school to finish up, but I'm not doing school. Um, and I've got all these things at my disposal that, sound fun and, things that I could be doing, but I have to remember that, there's work to be done in the off season to get me better. So, for me in the off season to keep me motivated, it's like you go work out, you spend 2 hours at the field, at the gym, wherever, you get your work done, and you still have 10 hours of the day to do whatever you want in the off season. Um, so I like to use that as my motivation because once I once I'm done with my 2 hour, 1 hour, 2 hours of work, then I'm kind of I go home and hang out, and I'm looking forward to the next day of work to see, so I can keep getting better and still keep doing, what I want to do in the off season.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, during season, I feel like motivation is easy
Mm.
because, you know, we're on a team. We're all on teams and there are different levels in the minors, but everybody on your team is trying to get to the same place that you're getting to or that you want to get to. So it's so easy to find motivation for me because, I've got a clear goal, like I said. So if I have to beat you out on my team, I don't care if you're my best friend. If I have to beat you out, I'm beating you out because, I want to get here. I know you want to get here too, and I hope you do at some point. But if it's me or you, it's going to be me, and I'm motivated to make that happen. So
Yeah.
so finding that motivation now is super easy because I've got
Mm.
a clear goal.
Mm. I love that tunnel vision, Miles. Um, I got to ask you about falling forward. And I
Let's
got to
do it.
ask, yeah, I got to ask you about falling forward. And I got to ask you about the Denzel speech.
hmm
I heard you on that podcast talk about it. Set it up for us right here. Speaking of motivation, that
hmm
the speech from Denzel Washington, the concept of falling forward, set that up for us.
Yeah. So I don't remember how I came across the video. It might have been on like a TikTok or something, but um, Denzel Washington, the actor, my favorite actor of all time. Um, he was he gave a speech at the University of Penn graduation. It was like 2011, maybe super, super long time ago. And he talked about people's careers and whatnot. But what I took away from it was falling forward. So he talked about, people have their ideas on what they want to do with their career, and they've got their whole life set up, and someone asks you, if that doesn't work out, what are you going to fall back on? And Denzel's whole thing was why fall back? Why not? If you're going to fall anywhere, fall forward. So, and it's honestly a mindset thing too, for me
Yeah.
at least. Um, because I feel like for me, for example, I I could have chosen to fall back after that sophomore year. Oh, I'm gonna fall back on this. I'm an education major. So, I'm gonna fall, I've got my education major to fall back on if baseball doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But that just that in itself feels so negative.
Yeah.
Um, because you're going backwards.
Yeah.
And education, was never something that I, wanted to do. I want to play baseball. So there's no point. in falling back when you can just keep falling forward and keep moving forward. Because if you are going forward, I think only positive things are going to come out of that. And that's what I did. And look at me now. And I'm the happiest I've been. I'm living my dream. And I think it also sort of it also can like sort of mean not to give up too.
Mm,
Um, because again, falling back just feels like you're giving up.
yeah.
If I had something to fall back on, it wouldn't, it wouldn't be baseball. And I don't know anything else in my life besides baseball. So the fact that I was able to, overcome these negative thoughts and sort of not even falling backwards, but moving backwards too, because that's what I felt like I was doing. I decided to step up and, move forward and move past all of the negativity and the self-doubt that I was having and and put my big boy pants on and get to work. So I think that's how I like to see it. I've got it literally tattooed on me right here. Um so that's how I like to think about it. And and I feel like it's something that I'll carry the rest of my life. Even after baseball is done, I'll keep, I'll just keep moving forward and never backwards because
Mm,
why would anyone want to go backwards and you can go forwards?
right. It's cool how you say that too. It's kind of like a choice, right? You could fall back if you
You
wanted to.
could if you want.
Right. And I love how Denzel says it too. I'm gonna link that speech
Hmm.
because I watched it last night myself.
Yeah.
I heard that you had watched it a couple times a week for a while, right?
Well, it was whenever I would like wake up in the morning. It was like a little like motivational montage. I wake up in the morning before I go and work out, put on the speech, like, yeah, let's go, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for a while, I think I was in high school. For a while I was super into that.
Yeah, it's a great speech. I watched it, and the other cool thing I love about falling forward, talking about motivating and inspiring, right? Is like
Mhm.
it's kind of a concept of like I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna do it anyway, right? It's
Right.
like I'm gonna
Hmm.
fall, you
Exactly.
know, and I'm just gonna trust,
Yeah.
and
And,
maybe
and yeah,
yeah,
the
go ahead.
way the way I like to think about it is like, oh, how do I put this? How I thought about it at least was you're going to regret not doing everything you possibly can to, get to a certain point in your life. Hold on, let me read. My parents like told me about this, and this was one of like the main points in, me switching up my mindset and in, having the success that I had. My dad told me, he was like, if you're going to do it, you might as well do everything you possibly can to achieve what you want to achieve. And if you don't achieve it, at least for the rest of your life, you'll have the satisfaction of saying, I did absolutely everything I can
Yeah,
or everything I could to achieve this.
yeah,
And that leaves no regrets.
yeah.
And that also leaves that positive mindset of being able to, fall forward, move forward because you've already done it once. You can do it again.
Man, I absolutely love that. I love that you took that from Denzel and you're sharing that now. And whoever's listening to this, take that and fall forward and however, feels best for you to do. I think this is a great time to ask about spirituality because
Mhm.
part of that falling forward, I kind of like imagine myself like I did a uh I did a bungee jump back when
Mhm.
I was in college in Switzerland actually. It
Okay.
was a big one and that's kind of what I'm picturing in my mind when you say fall forward because it was scary, man. I was on the
Mhm.
top of a gondola
Right.
and it was really high. It was like 400 feet high. And you at a certain moment you have to trust.
Mhm.
You're like, you know what? The staff here is good, the equipment's good. I'm gonna be okay.
And
Here we go.
just go for it. Yep.
And you just go for it, right?
Just
And
go
so
for it.
so maybe we can transition now and talk about spirituality because I think a big part of that is like just trusting that, I'm gonna fall forward and I know that
Mhm.
there's a force there that's gonna take care of me and I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And not only am I going to be okay, I'm going to thrive. I'm gonna do
Hmm.
great. I'm gonna be
Hmm.
great.
Yeah.
Um, talk a little bit about that. How that part of you, manifested. A big part of this show, a big part of what I like to talk about is manifesting. It's kind of a keyword
Hmm.
these days now, but I think there's something to that where you like have an intention, you have like, okay, this is my goal. I'm going to do everything I possibly can, but at some
Hmm.
point I'm going to ask for some help and for some assistance along my
Yeah.
path.
Hmm.
Talk a little bit about the spirituality and where that came from.
Yeah. So I mean, I've I've always had, a sort of self-spirituality, but recently I've, I found faith and I found God, and I feel like spiritually he has helped me, and I everything that has happened to this point, I put on him, and I that is it's God's doing, and that's me spiritually. And it was never always like that. I grew up in a Christian household. Both my parents are Christian. I went to church as a kid, but I never ever really like took it in. I was young, never took it in, never really, appreciated it like I should have. Um, and my change of spirit actually changed in Alaska.
Hmm.
Um, so I was in Alaska, and there was a team there that, oh, I'm sorry, there's some noise. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. There was a team there that was Christian based. And at the end of the season, they would go around to different teams in the league, and one player, only one, and there were 40 kids on the team. One player would give their testimony to each team. And the day that the team did their testimony, it was a kid, and he was talking about his story in college and how he found God. And it was, I can't even, like, I still think about this to this day. His story was almost identical to what I went through my freshman year of college.
Hmm.
And my freshman year of college, I was struggling, looking for answers, just, trying to find a way to be happy first and foremost. But I never really put that, like, I never really looked at it spiritually. I never
Hmm.
really looked to that place for help. And after I heard that testimony, I was like, right then and there, it was like I devoted myself to the Lord. And that was how my spiritual journey, I think, began. And now I carry it over into every day. Every day since then, I've followed his name. I pray before every game. I pray most days. Um, and I feel like believing in something like that, someone like that, is so important, because, it gives you it gives you someone who is in your corner and someone who has a plan for you.
Yeah.
So, the way that I saw it, he had a plan. There was always a plan. I just didn't know it. And nobody really does except him. Um, so now everything that I do, baseball or not, it's his plan. He's got a plan for me. He knows what's going to happen, and all I do is trust that. So that's that's sort of my spiritual sense and my spiritual, way about things. Um, and I plan to continue it for as long as I live.
That's super cool, Miles. It reminds me of something called vertical alignment. Have you heard of that before?
I haven't.
So, so I'm not religious, but I am spiritual, and
Hmm.
this this term alignment, um, the first thing I think of when I hear that is the car. Your wheels have to be aligned
Of
with
course.
the steering mechanism, and everything has to be aligned. If something's off a little bit, the steering's off, and the car doesn't
Hmm.
perform correctly.
Right. Of course.
Similarly, in an athlete, right, we need to be aligned with and calibrated, right, with our own
Right.
mechanic,
Hmm.
right, before we go out and perform or do our thing. specifically hitting, right? I remember that. I remember the coil down and all the
Right.
mechanics have to work. And so relating that to spiritual alignment, or the term is vertical alignment. To me, that means like being aligned. And whoever's listening to this, take this or leave this. This is not preaching at all. This is just sharing. But um, aligned with the earth, your heart, your mind, and a higher power. And
Of
just
course.
that alignment, to me, when I hear you speak on this spirituality in your journey, that has become a priority over
Absolutely.
everything else first, right? So like that alignment first, then everything else.
Hmm.
That kind of resonate.
Absolutely. No, you're so spot on. It's I feel like I have to make sure that, I'm aligned, or else, the balance is off
Yeah.
and it doesn't feel right.
I think that happens to a lot of athletes, Miles, and another reason why I'm working on bringing this or bridging the this
Hmm.
idea of the inspired athlete and success and manifesting and going for it and all these things. I'm working on bridging that because I think that's a missing component for a lot of
Hmm.
athletes because
Right.
what it can feel like is fleeting. It can feel fleeting. It can feel like we're just going through the motions and it's like what
Right.
for what? What are we
Right.
doing this for? Are we doing this for just winning? Are we doing this for a big check? Are
Hmm.
we doing this for a legacy? What are we doing this for? You
Yeah.
know? Um yeah, like what does that bring up for you?
Well, I mean, for me, I feel like that just it goes back. I know we're talking about the spirit, but it also goes back to, that motivation
Yeah.
part of it. Um, and I think people have, you know, their their thing that motivates them. Some people, money motivates them. Um, some people, do it because there's so many reasons as to why, people do what they do and whatnot. Um, but I feel like you said, I feel like staying aligned and and doing it, playing, or living for for the right reason, or the right, whatever you feel the right reason is what is most important. Um, for me, I play for him, and I, a lot of my teammates here, or teammates that I had at UC Irvine, were also very religious, and I feel like they feel the same way about it. Um, and a lot of them say, they're playing for an audience of one.
Mm.
Um, and that's how I like to think about it. And I love playing in front of, a bunch of fans and, having fun out there. But at the end of the day, we do everything for, or not we, but I at least do everything for his approval.
It's
So that,
kind of like a sorry to interrupt.
no, no, yeah.
It's kind of like a celebration of your talent is what you're
Hmm.
playing for. You're like
Absolutely.
you're like playing to celebrate what you were given.
Absolutely. And since he gave
Like
that to
that's such
me.
a cool thing. I just wish I could go back and kind of shake my 12-year-old self and say,
Mhm.
"Do that, dude."
Right. And with the talent that he gave me, now, since, he has blessed me in so many ways, I need to return the favor
Yeah.
by expanding on what he has given me.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then that, backtracks to, you know, being the best version of myself that I can be. I
Yep.
need to do whatever I can for him, because he gave me this seed, and now I need to grow that seed into a tree.
Into a tree that could potentially, help other seeds grow, right?
Exactly.
And provide shade and like really inspire someone else. Because, you remind me a lot of Mamba mentality, the what you have here.
Mhm.
And Kobe said, and RIP Kobe, he said inspiration is to, or he said greatness is to inspire the person next to you.
Mhm.
And I think that's a big part of your mission. is to, yes, keep doing what you're doing and keep be the best version of yourself, but it's also
Mhm.
to inspire someone else, man.
It absolutely is. That's, aside from baseball, I want to help people, and
Yeah.
I want people to know, I want people to know my story
Yeah.
so they can know that they can do anything.
Yes.
Because
Let's go.
I've like a lot of people, not a lot of people know my life story and know everything that went down that has gone down in my life, but I've been through a lot with myself, with other people. So I feel like it's it's pretty it's pretty miraculous to see myself in the position that I'm at today, knowing what I've been through and knowing what I've had to overcome. Um, and I feel like people can hear this or hear my story, and it would really, really have a positive impact on them because it would sort of give them hope
Yeah.
that they can
100%.
that they can do whatever they want, whatever they put their mind to, as long as they're determined and motivated, just like I am.
100%. Well, we'll use this opportunity right now to speak to a youth athlete. In any sport,
Hmm.
if there's an athlete listening to you right now and is a fan of yours, which I'm sure that there's going to be more and more of those,
Hmm.
what do you tell that kid?
I would tell that kid to first and foremost have fun.
Yeah.
I feel like that was something that I didn't do enough, um, leading up to where I'm at now at certain points in my life. I feel like I didn't do that enough. Um, so I feel like that's the one thing that, that's like the first thing I would tell a kid, have fun, do what you want, um, work hard, work your butt off because you don't want to look back 20 years from now and be like, dang, I should have. I feel like if I worked harder, a little bit harder, I really could have been something. You don't want to, go 20 years in the future and say that to yourself.
Yeah.
Um, and lastly, life is too short and too unexpected to not move in the pursuit of happiness. So I feel like you should move in your everyday life, whether it's, on the field, on the court, off the field, off the court. Do what makes you truly happy
Yeah.
because it's life, and we all want to do things that make you happy, that make you feel good and positive, and you should never sell yourself short of that, or you should never, you know, not have that, whatever it may be. And I still find myself today like trying to find things, you know, that I find joy in because, I work out in the morning and I have all day to just do nothing. And, sitting on my couch, taking naps, watching movies gets old.
Mhm.
Um, so, whatever it may be, just, find something that makes you happy. And yeah, I think those are the things that I would tell a younger athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. And not worry so much, maybe, huh?
And not definitely don't
No.
worry at all. Just, you know, and I feel like it depends on how old you are saying that, but
Yeah.
like don't be worried. Just play.
Yeah.
I was I was a sophomore in high school not thinking I was gonna, I knew I was pretty good. I didn't think I'd be here, but I just played. I just had fun and you never know what can happen. You have fun, you stay happy, you put the work in, and I swear anything can happen.
I mean, it's so much knowledge and so much wisdom. I guess the question that comes up for me in our remaining minutes here is like how, how do you create that healthy detachment?
Hmm. I feel like that healthy detachment comes from finding things off the field or court that make you happy.
Yeah.
Like I said, like I feel like last year when I played, if I didn't have a good game or I, was struggling a little bit, I would just I'd seek help with my friends. And
Yeah.
that wasn't even asking them for advice, yada yada. It was just being there, being with my friends and taking my mind off of all the worries that come from the field or court, whatever sport you might play.
Yeah.
Um, but I think finding things that can take your mind off of, you know, what is going on the field. Because if you got on the field, you think about, I'm thinking about baseball all the time, like on the field. If I stepped off the field and continued to think about baseball, my head would spin all the time and
Yeah.
I'd be a wreck. Um, so I feel like everybody needs to find a balance of, you know, that locked in athlete mentality that you need to have on the court or field, and then you need to, be able to separate it by doing things that make you happy. Go on a walk, go on a run, go
Yeah.
play. I have a friend who's a tennis player. I've played tennis with him before. Like, just
Yeah.
just do whatever, makes you happy and gets your mind off of, you know, what happened
Yeah.
before on the field or court. So yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like once you find something you know, that can keep you engaged and keep you joyful, that you enjoy, you'll
Yeah.
be it'll be super easy to separate and to split the two.
Love that. I love that, Miles. Last couple things here. I got to ask you about flow state and visualization. Those are two kind of topics that I like to explore with athletes and just people in general.
Mhm.
Um, do you use those things? Do you use visualization? Is flow state an actual thing? Is it something you can practice? Do you find yourself in it? Talk about those things.
I definitely do visualize. And I'm kind of like weird with visualization because sometimes it's like, for me at least, I don't know if anybody else had like this happens to anybody else, but sometimes I can't envision things and sometimes I can really clearly. And those days that I can envision things, it's like, oh hell yeah. Like it's today is gonna be, you know, like I guarantee you today's gonna be a good day. And sometimes I can't,
Cool.
visualize the things that I want to visualize. And it's uncertain. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I always try to visualize what I want to do and how I want to do it. And that also helps with motivation and
Yeah.
like positive mindset too.
Right.
No, I'll have like I'll run like a little like baseball mixtape through my head of me like doing like cool things that like I've never done before. But
Like
like
what?
just
Like
like me
what?
imagining like me doing all these cool things gets me super pumped up for the
Like
game
what
that's
cool
about
things? Like stealing a base or like
to
in the game or like
hitting a 400-foot home run,
yeah.
bat flip every like the full 9 yards. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna go do that today. Like,
That's
and it
cool.
gets me super fired up. But yeah, that's how I like to, visualize. And I feel like flow state.
Wait. Sorry. So
Oh yeah,
so visualizing, can you break that down even more? Like, are you actually seeing like the bat hit the ball and the ball going
everything.
400 feet and
It's
like,
like a full like slow-mo moment of
yeah,
me, and it can change too. It's usually me hitting
yeah.
is what I visualize because the defense comes naturally. I catch the ball, I throw the ball,
Hmm.
whatever. But hitting, there's so many mechanics and there's so many things that need to happen before you even like make contact with the ball. Um, so I like to visualize all of that, like slow motion video, um, of me, doing everything perfect and
And
seeing the results of it.
so seeing the results of it and then the manifesting part, are you adding emotion to it? Because I feel like that's a missing component. Like pretend that you're hitting for a second. I've
Mhm.
watched your batting practice. You got a great swing. Are you before you go to the batting practice, are you visualizing that the mechanics, the perfect mechanics, the hitting on like the top part of the ball, like
Mhm.
seeing your ball go to the desired place, but are you attaching any emotion like, ooh, that felt great, or it felt
Oh
like
yeah,
this? Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like when I take batting practice, I don't usually visualize before batting practice,
Okay.
but I'm always like thinking like pitch to pitch in batting practice. Like if I like a swing, I'll remember it. And I'll
Cool.
remember, what I did, where the pitch was, like, okay, like that was good. Like
Cool.
I had my hands, in a certain spot, and my hands got to where they need to be. I didn't step in, yada yada yada. So I'll remember all of that for
That's
sure.
really cool. And what about winning? Do you visualize winning at all, or do you just kind of let
Mm-mm.
that happen?
Nope, just let that happen. We we were so good last year. So like we didn't lose very often, but it was like, and I knew with the team that we had last year that like these nine guys are gonna get after it.
Yeah.
And if we do what we need to do, we're gonna win.
Yeah.
So I feel like there was no doubt in my mind a single game we played where it was like, this is gonna be a tough one. It was like we're gonna win.
That's cool. And then so I interrupted you about flow state. You were going to talk
Mhm.
about flow. Yeah, talk about
Yeah,
flow
yeah,
state.
yeah. I wrote a paper on flow state one time.
Really?
So funny. I don't even remember. Yeah,
You
but
were
I
you were in the
remember
flow while you were writing your flow state
so
paper.
some could say. Um, no, I feel like flow state. You asked if you could like practice it. I don't think you can. I don't think you can. I feel like something like that has to happen completely natural.
Mm,
Um, for me at least, some people might be able to practice it, but for me, I've definitely experienced it,
mm.
but I feel like that's not something that you can practice. I feel like that's just something that you get from being so motivated and so locked in that nothing is getting past you. Nothing is gonna stop you from becoming a beast in however long this flow state lasts. Um, and it can happen anywhere. It can happen in a game, practice, batting cages. It happened to me like last week while I was in the batting cage, just like with a couple of my old teammates just hitting. I feel like it can just happen
Can you,
whenever.
can you describe more of it? Like, what does it feel like?
It's just you're just like so for me, it's like that happens when I'm hitting. It doesn't really happen when I'm in the field. It's a lot of standing out there, but like every swing that I take or that I took was identical to the swing that I took before. Like I took a really good swing, and right after that, I was like just locked. And every single swing felt identical. Every single swing felt perfect. And nothing I was doing mechanics wise was incorrect. Everything was, spot on. My timing was where it needed to be, my hands, my feet, everything. And it was every single swing it was just locked in. And you see the results of it too. It's not even just like the swing, like every single like ball I hit was line drive, line drive, line drive, line drive. So you see it too. And it's not just a feeling. Like you see the results of it, which is what I saw.
I think that's a big part of the inspired athlete is you know maybe I don't know if you can practice it either. I like asking that question because some people say, yeah, you could totally practice it, but
Hmm.
whether you can practice it or not, maybe you can set yourself up for it. You can
Right.
do the prayer, you can do the meditation, you can
Of
you can do the
course.
visualization. That's all set up, I think, for those moments of like, you know, when I think of flow state too, I think of like I'm not really trying. I'm just
Mm-mm.
allowing,
Right.
right? Or just which is a
Definitely.
weird thing for athletes because all we do is try hard, right? We just
Exactly.
right? So it's a little that's why I think it's good to talk about because I think the goal for the inspired athlete is to find ourselves in flow state more often,
Right.
right? And so I think the more setup we can do for that, and then when we get into that state to like really recognize it, you
Hmm.
know, I don't know if it's hard to recognize it in that actual moment because you're actually living it, but
Right.
maybe afterwards you're like, whoa, I was in the flow,
Yeah.
so that you can, man, I want to do that again and
Of
again and
course.
again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Once
I
once you once you get to that point, yeah, you never want to leave that point.
Right. Right. Myles, man, this has been an amazing, beautiful conversation.
I agree.
Yeah, dude. The last question I have for you is this concept of fulfillment. Talk about that for a minute, and then we'll share how people can be a fan and follow your journey. But
Yeah.
yeah, fulfillment, man. What does that mean to you?
It's just, I feel like all of these, like fulfillment, it all leads back to, you know, becoming the best person that you can become. Um,
Yeah,
and I feel like at this point in my life, there's so much more I want to do in my career, in my life. So I wouldn't say I'm fulfilled yet, but I feel like no matter where this my career takes me, where life takes me, I think I will reach fulfillment as long as whatever I'm doing, I put all of my effort into it and I make sure that I do everything I can to be the best at whatever I'm doing. If 10 years go by and, you know, God forbid, I don't make it, in my baseball career where I want to, make it. I think I will still be fulfilled because I already know right now at 12:06 p.m. on December 13th that I am doing and will do anything and everything that, I can to get to where I want to be at. So, and once I do that, it's not on me because I did everything that I could.
yeah,
And that's true fulfillment for me. So just, doing whatever I can. And I feel like if I continue to do everything I can, I'll get to where I want to get to.
yeah.
But just knowing that I did do everything that I could and gave effort all the time is fulfilling to me.
Let's go, Myles. Let's go. What a great answer and a great conversation. And man, before we go, just share, how people can best support you and follow you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I play for the Cincinnati Reds. I'll probably be in Low A to start, which is in Daytona Beach, Florida. Daytona Tortugas. If you want to follow that, starting in April, I'll probably be there. Um, my Instagram _ Myles Smith with a Y, Myles with a Y. Um, yeah, you guys follow. I'll probably follow you back. I love everyone. So
Yeah.
yeah, any type of support that I can get on this journey is greatly welcomed and appreciated. So
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you making time today. And,
of course,
this was an awesome conversation.
I agree. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was good. This was great.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Don't go anywhere.
All right.
For everyone else, peace and blessings. Stay inspired, everybody.